Hello, and welcome to, FourWheelTech. We are in the time machine. I had to call it a night early yesterday, but normally this is a Sunday show. And then after this, I'm going to have lunch, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to play Blueprints. Today, though, is June 16th, 2024. It's Season 1, Episode 13. Today we're going to be, I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmTown. Right next to me, these little dots here and lines are the visualizer for the sentient AI from the future, but they are not available at this time, not in the time machine at least. So I'm going to do the rundown of today's shows solo. Today we're going to be talking about the 2025 Polestar 3, parts sharing, how BMW avoids software issues, Dodge and Ram recalls, the 2025 Mini Cooper 5-door, window switches that are regulated. All window switches are apparently regulated. Fiat's new car, the fastest car in the world, Chinese-made electric Mini, and putting people on ice. That one's going to be a really short one because it's behind a paywall, at least for me. Anyway, see ya on the other side of this, because everything is powered by ohmTown.com. All right, welcome back. So let's get into today's articles. Could be a really short show, but I guess we'll see if I end up soapboxing or vamping about something. The 2025 Polestar 3 is a torque vectoring SUV that's fun to drive. This has been aggregated into the FourWheelTech channel. That's the name of this show. It's over on ohmTown.com as well. We go live, and it's streamed to Twitch and YouTube, and I go like this because one monitor has Twitch and one monitor has YouTube. But anyway, and then you can go over to YouTube and look at all of the past episodes. There's 13 total episodes for FourWheelTech. It's a weekly show. We do it on Sundays, late at night, usually around 9 to 10 o'clock. Anyway, Polestar provided flights from Washington to Madrid and accommodation so that Ars Technica could drive the Polestar 3. Thought it was really interesting. I know that this happens quite a bit, but this exotic place in a luxury SUV, an EV, I wonder where all of the charging stations are in other countries, because in the United States it seems kind of haphazard. There's certain areas that have it, but the infrastructure just sucks for EVs, and the technology kind of sucks for EVs. Unless it's a hybrid, I don't think that it's ready for prime time, and we'll get to that. I keep talking about this because for the last 2.5 years since I started the show, I've been talking about it, and it seems to now be weighing in a little bit more. The article about the Polestar 3 is over at arstechnica.com. Jonathan M. Gitlin is the author. And the deck statement says the EV startup goes to the head of the pack with its new luxury SUV. It doesn't seem SUV-ish to me. It seems more crossover, but maybe there's I'm not sure. They're over in Madrid, Spain. And I've always liked the Polestar designs. The aesthetic is really neat. So I keep looking at them. I want to get a hybrid, not a pure EV, pure electric EV. I just don't like them because you're bound to have to sit around for hours. 30 minutes to recharge is just batshit crazy. So I don't agree with it. That said, it says this was spun out of Volvo in 2017 as a standalone performance electric brand, Polestar. And in 2019, they tried their first car, a low-volume plug-in hybrid GT that wowed them, but only ever amounted to 1,500 cars, which kind of sucks. Because I would like a performance hybrid GT, hybrid, at a reasonable price, but this starts at $74,000. I'm rounding up to the nearest thousand, but so it says although Volvo has sold its shares in Polestar, leaving its parent company Geely as Polestar's sole corporate parent, the two companies will continue to share technology and platforms. Both are going into the Volvo EX90 and this Polestar 3 are apparently going to be built in Volvo's factory in South Carolina this year. So it's a good looking car. I really like it. To me, it looks like it's merged a little bit of Mustang front end, the Mach-E, which I'm not a big fan of Mustang Mach-E because of its overall design aesthetic compared to what it should be, considering it's a Mustang. But this has that Mustang kind of front end, and then the back end is kind of like a Porsche, like rounded. It's nice. I really like the aesthetic. It has kind of like a thick, squat, wide back end, and to me, it looks pretty good, at least from this particular angle. No nonsense dash. The motor draws power from a 110 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack from CATL, which gives the EV a range of 315 miles, but I don't know about on the road. Is that really the performance? Because depending on your path through the hills, you're never going to get 315 miles, just like you're never going to get 35 miles per gallon out of an ICE vehicle. When it says that, it's like that's the dream come true on a flat, level plain in good weather. But EVs are more susceptible than ICE vehicles to weather conditions. So either it's too hot and the battery performance drops, or it's too cold and the battery performance drops, or time goes on and the battery performance drops. Upwards of 2%, research says 2% per year of ownership. So pretty much out of the question. The charge times, it says, are 30 minutes for DC fast charging. So you have to find a fast charger from 10 to 80%. Up to 250 kilowatts. So the moment you hit that 80%, though, performance plummets. There's not enough room for the electrons to find a place. And so it takes forever. We're talking 5-6 hours to charge to 100%. So you're never operating at 100. You're never getting, okay, let's just say it plainly. You're losing 20% of the 315 miles of idyllic performance. So no, you're never getting 315 miles. From the moment you drop below 80%, you're never getting 315 miles, because you still have to sit around for 30 minutes to charge. It's batshit crazy. And to charge in a level 2 charger in that 10 to 80%, it's going to take 11 hours, and nobody has a fast charger at home. So for $6,000 extra, you can do a long range dual motor that can be optioned into the performance pack, which increases the performance to 517 horsepower from 489 horsepower. And it shaves 0.3 seconds from 0 to 62 miles per hour. That they measure at 0 to 100 kilometers. Anyway, yeah. I love the idea of EVs, but they really need to be pure hybrid. I'd rather use a little bit of fossil fuels to stay in motion for a longer period of time out of my day. And so if I have to drive somewhere and fill up and it takes 30 minutes, you're killing me. It's bad enough that I have to stop and eat somewhere if I'm doing long drives. And I want to be able to drive from one location to another. I want 400 miles to a tank nowadays. But that doesn't even exist, even in ICE vehicles, right? But we should be demanding more as consumers, not just happy with what we're given. I think that's the wrong attitude when it comes to commercial and consumption. If we're the consumer, we really should be forcing the hand of innovation, not just the business plan. That's why I don't like Intel. Every 2 years is the right, never mind. The drip of technology pisses me off. Anyway, so this car is a luxury vehicle. It isn't one that you're going to just be able to walk up to and go, okay, here's my trade-in for $20,000 and I get a newer model for $15,000 more. You're looking at a $70,000 vehicle that's going to plummet in value the moment it leaves the lot. To me, I think it's much more of a burden to get an EV used than it is an ICE vehicle, because of all of the other issues related to EVs. And again, we'll end up talking about this. Even though I am a proponent of EVs, we're doing it wrong. But I've talked about that many a time, so we'll keep on talking. And if you end up in my chat and you have questions or comments, concerns, feel free to throw them into the chat. I can even pull you on to the show. So anyway, it's a good looking car, but I don't think we're ready for prime time. The market for luxury SUVs has never been more crowded, it says. The Polestar thinks that the three's strongest competition will come from BMW iX or i10, Mercedes-Benz EQE SUV. All of these roll off the freaking tongue here, but I don't know about the e-tron, Audi's Q8 e-tron, and the Porsche Cayenne EV. It says which isn't available as an EV yet, but there is a Porsche EV out there. They say happily that they can report it succeeded in delivering a car that's engaging to drive as the best of those, with at least as much style and comfort. For a young brand, that's quite an achievement, but I think they have a lot of gray in their history. So, or I should say in the corporation, they've got a lot going for them. I've always liked the Polestar design aesthetics. So, all right, let's keep going though. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. Building cars is expensive. Parts sharing can help that. And to a point, we've had parts sharing ever since the Model T. There's been interchangeable parts to a degree. It says here in the snippet that we acquire, it's an expensive proposition to build cars. Prototype is expensive, but going production is massively expensive. You have to really have faith that your I need to come up with a different term than faith. You really have to have a solid foundation for what you think is going to be a successful product. The prototype goes out there and you have people that are prepaying for the vehicle to actually hit the market. Like I'm waiting for the Canoe. I want an EV. I would prefer that it's a hybrid. I may not actually follow through with the purchase, but I want an EV, VW van style kind of vehicle. And the Canoe is right up my alley because I don't like the ID Buzz as much as I like the Canoe, even though I like the VW name. But anyway, all of these interchangeable parts, though, have become more and more balkanized. I suppose time and time again, things get made for certain model cars, but you still have to buy these proprietary parts. So they say that's why sometimes automakers will decide to use off-the-shelf parts on their new car. It's cheaper, easier, but it provides a fun game for car nerds. And yeah, it's a real blast to go and find aftermarket parts for a vehicle. And as long as they match the fitment and the quality, then you have the form and fitment, then everything's awesome. So Andy Kolmowitz put this article together. It's posted at quartz or qz.com, but it's from Jalopnik. And they have a slideshow, and they're pretty well known for their slideshows. They wanted to know what the favorite example of automotive part sharing was, and apparently their readership provided it. So the taillights on this car, the Hella 4169 lighting, I guess it fits on a lot of different cars. Classic GM parts bin engineering, they'll use the Saturn Sky as an example. The engine used in Cobalt HHR line, and tons of shared parts and individual components with other Ecotechs. The transmission is from Chevy Colorado, automatic from the Cadillac CTS, SRX. The rear differentials from Cadillac CTS. Rear backup light and valance is from the Chevy Volt the Sky, I guess, and the GMC Envoy Solstice. Um, oh gosh, this whole car is from off-the-shelf parts put onto other things. HVAC is from the Chevy Colorado and Hummer H3. That's interesting. Either the HVAC in the Colorado and Hummer H3 is anemic, or this thing is way overpowered. Or it's the right size for this car, and then that anemic line is more apropos. Interesting. So yeah, this car is built off of off-the-shelf parts. I'm surprised. It must be like you could put any skin on this car and you'll be just fine. Apparently the Wienermobile uses the light bar and headlights from a Pontiac Grand Prix and taillights from a Trans Am. That's interesting. Oh yeah, there you go. That's funny. So the Aston Martin borrows taillights from the Mazda 323. That's weird. And now that you mention it, it seems like it just doesn't fit. That's weird. They say, I appreciate how Aston was able to use bodywork to disguise the taillights. It really works. I don't think so. Now that I see it, it seems like this is just all clay and that just got chopped out. Interesting. Couldn't have saved that much money on that, but whatever. Let's see. Good looking little hatchback. Yep, look at that. Doink. So, the same lights. This car is like $15,000. All right. Wow, and that's another one. Lotus uses all kinds of well, switches, headlight washer nozzle from various parts. Oh, this whole thing. Wow, there's so many little pieces that are from so many other cars. Wheel speed sensors, but it's mostly tiny little things. That's pretty cool. All right, well, I won't go through all of these. I get lost in these lists, so but go and check it out. This is a fun article. Again, it's building cars are expensive, so interchangeable parts are the solution. Let's go on to the next article, and this one's in FourWheelTech as well. How BMW has avoided software issues that have stung competitors. Top tech exec Stephen Durock says a key reason for the success in the automaker's long history of developing its own, or is a long history of developing its own software. I won't be able to talk too much about this, but it says well-documented software stumbles at Volkswagen Group and Volvo cars. They're like the Ocean and other vehicles. There's a lot of vehicles, even the Tesla, I think has software-related issues, like it takes forever for it to do patches, or if something gets wet, then it loses its mind. And issues in various other cars where the software is a problem, either security or functionality. But most of the time, whenever I hear complaints about it, it's some software. Like my car got an over-the-air software update without me even authorizing anything. And now while I'm driving, it tells me to pull over and stretch my legs. But I never turned that feature on. So I'm not quite sure how that happened. And in fact, one of the things got activated all on its own outside of that. And I was astonished, like, well, how the hell did that happen? But I'd never lost power. I didn't jump my car. I didn't, do anything. The only thing I can attest to is that it's a over-the-air update. But they say that it credits the long history of developing its own software, but unless you have some serious broad spectrum understanding of software engineering, I don't think internal development without external auditing or enhancement by third parties, just there's something else needs to be done because you become insular. So what about the security aspects of it? So hopefully BMW has cybersecurity professionals taking a look at the software and the hardware. doing penetration tests, both with access to the device and external, just access to the ODB. So Luca Safari over at autonews.com put this article together. But that's all I can really say about it. Although I have an account, I don't subscribe to their service. Mainly because every once in a while we use one of their articles. But anyway, love the little snippet that I actually have access to, and you may not run into this. So you can read some of their news as well. So the next article is over in FourWheelTech. More than 211,000 Dodge Durangos and Ram trucks recalled to fix stability control issues. This article is over at autoblog.com. Anti-lock braking could malfunction, meaning the ESC, the electronic stability control, may not function. It's written by Autoblog staff, but Stellantis spokesperson said that the company conducted an investigation to discover the problem after a routine review of customer feedback tipped it off. The company's unaware of any related injuries or accidents, but it's a total of 211,581 vehicles produced between April 2021 and December 2022 that are expected to have this defect. The company has very specific numbers for the affected vehicles. 245, I just got a bout of dyslexia, geez. 524 Ram 3500s, 157,890 Ram 2500s, and 53,167 Dodge Durangos. In addition, there's 17,500 more in Canada, 2,300 in Mexico, and another 5,000 in markets outside of North America that will be recalled. So if you have a 2022 model year Dodge Durango or Ram 2500, 3500 truck, your electronic stability control is probably wonky. Let's keep going though. The next article is over in FourWheelTech. The 2025 Mini Cooper 5-door looks like a tidy, techie hoot. The 4th generation ICE Mini Cooper was revealed earlier this year in 3-door form, being built on an updated version of outgoing Mini's design. So I guess it says platform instead of the new platform of the fully electric model, but again, they really need to pivot to being hybrid. I will always say that this is wrong. All electric charging. So, okay, so Logan Carter is the writer, the author of the article. It's over at jalopnik.com. The deck statement says the British motoring icon has some new digs and it's ready for 5-door fun. Looks good. Looks like your standard Mini. I mean, it has some design aesthetics that have changed over the years, of course, and it's gotten a little swole compared to the old school Minis. It says it retains basically the same dimensions to the outgoing model, and powertrain options mentioned in the press release remain the same for the current F55 Cooper 5-door with a turbocharged 3-cylinder engine for base Coopers and a turbocharged inline 4 for Model S models, or Cooper S models. Both engines get increased power numbers over the current model, with base Coopers getting 156, 22 horsepower more, and the Cooper S getting 204, up 15. So like the 3-door model, the new 5-door gets the same interior upgrades, which include a unique circular OLED infotainment touchscreen. So this now becomes an OLED touchscreen. As for personalization, the interior offers 3 unique trim choices. The roof is available in 3 contrasting colors or a multi-tone roof with a gradual color gradient. That has to be expensive as hell. So the 2025 Cooper S 5-door will start at $33,000, which is $3,100 more than the outgoing 5-door Cooper S and only $1,000 more expensive than the 3-door 25 Cooper S. But I don't think that it has all-wheel drive. And that's kind of a bummer. I want a smaller all-wheel drive Mini Cooper, but the only thing that has it is the Countryman. At least nowadays, I think that's the only one that has all-wheel drive. I know that there's a Clubman and a Paceman, but I don't know if those are as produced anymore, if they're even produced anymore. Let's keep going though. The next article is over in FourWheelTech. Even how your car's window switches work is federally mandated. Did you know that in 2010, power window switches designs were federally governed to minimize strangulation and other injuries caused by unintentional activation of the window switch? According to this, neither did the author. I ran across this kind of stuff when I was designing a car, such that instead of having side view and rear view mirrors, it was actually monitors that were inside the cockpit, and just little arms sticking out of the side of the car for the camera. And federal regulation wouldn't allow it, but this was 25, 30 years ago. Nowadays, the regulation has changed, and you can actually get away with not having side view mirrors. I guess if you do if you follow certain regulations and rules, you can do it. But I'm not surprised by this. I think that regulation keeps people safe. And for instance, the trunk or the frunk on the Cybertruck could like chop fingers off, supposedly. And that's because there wasn't enough braking mechanisms in place. The software's fidelity wasn't calibrated properly. And so if you closed it, it was coming down, hell or high water, it was coming down on your fingers. And I just recently watched somebody do it after the software update, and they thought that they were going to lose their damn hand. But anyway, the article about even how your car's window switches work is federally mandated is over at jalopnik.com. Logan Carter is the author. Yeah, so they go on to talk about how the regulation requires car makers to fit every vehicle with window toggle switches that must be pulled up in order to close the window. Before the regulation, many cars had flat rocker switches that only required the button to be pressed to close the window, which made it very easy to accidentally close the window. If a child were to stick its head out of the window and accidentally step on the window switch that closed the window would close on the child, leading to obvious danger results. So, yeah, I'm not surprised by that. Yeah, it used to be rocker switches, but now you have to lift up to close the window, which is actually kind of intuitive. You push it down to lower it, and you lift it up to close it. But the rocker switches were a cheaper, already off-the-shelf solution that they could just deploy on and off mechanism. So they say they always wondered why their father's 2008 Subaru Forester only had one touch down function for the driver's window, but it makes more sense now. That automatic reversal behavior or anti-pinch feature or function keeps passengers safe, whether they're children, pets, or in-laws, and they've seen recent examples. Oh, there they go. They talk about it too. The anti-pinch functionality from the Tesla Cybertruck's famous finger-chomping frunk. Seemingly small regulations like these can prevent countless injuries and accidents. But yeah, I find it really interesting. There's always going to be somebody that argues with me about this stuff. Like, well, people are stupid. Well, it's not about that. It's about keeping customers safe. And why not just fix the problem? Not sit there and be. It's so sociopathic to just say, well, Darwin Award. Okay, well, anyway, the next article is in FourWheelTech. Fiat's new Grande Panda I'm not even, is this a legit? I feel like I'm being punked reading this headline. Fiat's new Grande Panda, or Grand Panda, is so cute that they wish that it had cheeks that they could squeeze. Today is an exciting day as Fiat has revealed its new Grande Panda, a baby crossover-ish hatchback that is completely adorable. If you can believe it, this is only the fourth generation of Panda to emerge since 1980 when the original model was revealed, and that one was in production until 2003. Oh, that's interesting. This can't be in the United States. So Daniel Golson over at jalopnik.com put the article together, and the deck statement says, this is the first in a new Panda family of small cars. Hold on, I've got to look this up real quick. So as you might know, we don't read the full articles when we do the show, not before the show at least. Our reactions are live. They're right here, and I don't edit out anything, and it is as transparent as can be. So where is this thing? It says Fiat's new global player. Hold on a second. Yeah, I guess more giant pandas are coming to the US. Oh no, that's a different thing. That's funny. I did Grande Panda United States and it pulled up giant pandas. So it's not about the car. So the Grande Panda is built on Stellantis' smart car platform, which also underpins the Citroen's C3 and other future models. At 153 inches long, it's smaller than the B segment cars, though it's about a foot longer than the old Panda and a couple inches longer than a new 3-door Mini. So this is, I don't know, this is like the standard car nowadays. The Grande Panda channels the original Panda 4x4 in overall spirit. It looks like an Aztec in some of the aesthetic here on the doors and the roof line. I don't know if it's really that spectacular, but it has these chunky fender wells that kind of elicit a off-roading kind of feel for it. They say, who cares what powers it? Look how cute it is. Fiat says the new Fiat Grande Panda's Italianness comes immediately apparent through its iconic and ironic Italian design, which is synonymous with beauty. Let's see here. Wow, they're gonna chop that Fiat into every aspect of this vehicle, huh? So that says Panda, and then on the back is Fiat, like hard molded into it, or is that just like not really legitly there? It has distinctive face with pixel lights that Fiat says reflect the windows on the facades of the Lingato factory, and the faux grille panel and front bumper have gradiented pixel elements. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see that. All of that. Yeah. Oh, and there's Fiat again, just in case you forget that your vehicle is a Fiat. All right. So it says it will be offered with a fully electric or a mild hybrid internal combustion option. So let's see. Do they have a price for this thing? No. Anyway, the Panda can carry 5 people and is perfect for comfortable family living and contemporary urban mobility. Will be announced before the new Panda goes on sale in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa later this year, while the previous Gen Panda will remain on sale through 2030, now badged as Pandino. Interesting. Yeah, I would like to see it come to the United States. I'd like another option for hybrids. More competition, please. Thank you very much. All right, let's go. The next article is what is the fastest car in the world in 2024? Going to go straight on over to, the Koenigsegg Jesko Absolute, 330 miles per hour. That's the fastest car in the world in 2024. The author of the article is Chris Teague. And it says it wasn't long ago that the notion of reaching 200 miles per hour in a car on a road seemed basically impossible. As you likely know by now, that time has passed. This says 330 miles per hour. Is this actually street legal, though? Is this car actually qualified as street legal? Because I thought it was a different car. The Bugatti, but not. It wasn't the Bolide. I thought it was a different Bugatti. Oh no, it was the Chiron. There we go. That's the one that. There we go. That's what I thought was the fastest street legal car. So, however, unlike Koenigsegg, the Bugatti is a track-only affair. So apparently, the Koenigsegg is street legal, although it shares an engine and some of the underlying structure with the road legal Chiron. Bugatti opted to keep the Bolide limited to track duty. So yeah, maybe the Chiron is the only one that is street legal. But it can hit 330 miles per hour on regular road, apparently. Although they did it on a track. They go into greater detail about this. Yeah, I thought this was the one. Okay. Pretty cool. So the article goes into greater detail about the history of it. They say that it's a $4.4 million vehicle. Not having to build a car to meet road car regulations have Bugatti the freedom to create a brutal car with speed that defies logic. The Bolide is also far more exclusive than the Koenigsegg, as Bugatti produced just 40 of the extreme cars. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. They don't say how much the Absolute is. Let's see. They talk about the Bolide, but I don't know if they talk about the price of the Absolute. $3 million? Something like that? Yeah. Okay, well, let's keep going. It is a time machine episode, so in a little bit, I've got 2 more articles, and then we're going to bounce, and we'll do the ohmTown Daily News Show as per usual on Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern. That said, I waited a long time. I probably shouldn't have, but when I do the show solo, the duration of the show is shorter. But if you hit exclamation point and then show notes, that will give you the commands that enable you to pull the article from our library. And if you, for this particular show, it's FWT, so exclamation point FourWheelTech, that will pull the articles that we are talking about tonight. And we have 10 articles. The next 2 should be pretty fast. A Chinese-made electric Mini threatened with highest EV tariff from EU. Basically coming after BMW. So Chinese-made electric Mini threatened with highest EV tariff from the European Union. BMW is against the tariff as it could result in retaliatory tariffs for German-built cars. Autoblog.com is the host of the article. It's from Reuters, though. The new all-electric Mini Cooper made in China is set to be hit by the highest EV tariff of 38.1% under the EU's provisional plans, a Reuters source familiar with the matter said on Friday, a potential terminal blow for the car's sales prospects. Mass production of the roughly $35,000 or $37,345 American dollar vehicle produced by a joint venture of BMW and China's Great Wall Motor Company Limited, began late last year, shortly after the EU launched its probe. With production still in early days, the joint venture was unable to fulfill the European Commission's survey of the level of detail required to be classed as a company cooperating with the investigation, the source said, declining to be named because discussions are private. So this car is produced in China, imported into Europe, made by a European company, but in partnership. And the EU is going, we're going to dink this 38, almost 40%. I round up to whole numbers. So 38.1% tariff on this vehicle. Companies seen cooperating with the EU were subject to lower tariffs, 17.4 to 21%, which is interesting to say the least. Comply or we're going to charge you more. But what is not cooperating, not moving fast enough? I don't know. But as long as the quality of these vehicles meets the requirements of the EU, I have no problem where it's produced. But I'm afraid of vehicles that are wholly produced in some other country and there is no testing of the vehicle for safety and like reliability and all of that kind of certain measures need to be made. But it's very expensive and time consuming, and the producers have to provide a whole bunch of cars to assessors to make sure that they are Department of Transportation and roadworthy in the United States or in Europe, for instance, depending on where you are. And I think every country should do that. There should be a minimum baseline of safety and security for occupants of vehicles. I don't want to be the crumple zone in a vehicle, so... but that's not necessarily what this is all about. This is all about cooperating with the EU. So I guess BMW in China needs to get their shit together and comply. Just comply. We'll slap you a little less if you just let us slap you. Let's go on to the last article for today's FourWheelTech. It's in the FourWheelTech channel over at ohmTown.com. Will price and charging headaches send EV owners back to the ICE age? So ICE stands for internal combustion engine, if you're not familiar with the term. And I certainly see that happening. People are burnt out with EV issues, long charging times, reliability issues. The thought of in 5 years, your car is upwards of 20% less effective because the battery is upwards of 20% less capable of holding a charge. So that 80% is now really 60%. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're at 100% and every year you lose 2%, you're down to 90% in 5 years. So if you keep your car for 10 years, you're down 20%. So that 80% now is more akin to 80% of the 80%. And so you're never, ever going to get the full potential of your battery. After a year, it's down upwards of 2% based on research. And then range anxiety and the fact that that replacement battery is always pending at some point. It's not going to hold a charge. And you have to go to some other location to charge. A fast charger is not in your house. Nobody has fast chargers in their house. Maybe they do. Superchargers aren't anywhere though. But suffice it to say that there are some serious issues. And so the article is by Pete Bigelow over at Automotive News or autonews.com. And McKinsey is the researchers, the organization that did the research that they gathered a survey, and it says that the survey challenges the conventional thinking that EVs breed high loyalty. They don't. It's an experiment. It's a very young market in the grand scheme of things, and I think that we did it wholly wrong, and we're finding that out. I guess it's the screw around and find out phase. We're in the find out phase. So charging concerns, high cost of ownership, the complexity of long distance trips are three leading reasons why 40% of the US electric vehicle owners market says that they're likely to switch back to combustion engines with their next purchase, according to the results from a new consumer survey from McKinsey and Company. And this is what I have been saying for the last 2.5 years on the show. Publicly, I've been saying it elsewhere, but um, on the show, since I started ohmTown, I've been basically saying that we're doing it wrong. We nixed fast swap batteries. I actually posted a short on YouTube, and it was kind of poo-pooed and panned because people are like, it'll never happen. Except that Tesla had a working model. It was functional and it was capable. It could have done it. Now there are companies in China that are doing it with specialist brands of EVs. You pull in, they pull out your battery. You don't own the battery, and so your car is that much cheaper. And so you basically lease the battery, and you pull in, they swap out a new battery, and you drive away. You pull into another fast swap battery changing station. It's just like a gas station. And if we build around this modular footprint, where if you want longer range, you can lease 4 batteries and it gets inserted into the chassis in a compartment that's secure, then let's do that, because it makes more sense. And then you can drive batteries around like we used to drive fossil fuels around. At least now it's portable again. It's more reliable than even gas, in that you aren't going to get a car battery spill, the likes of which a fuel spill is destructive. There's different controls that you can put in place, but you can drive these batteries around all over the place to a central charging station, or the swap station is the charging station as well. You can get these battery packs and test them for reliability and then recondition them with greater effectiveness, efficiency. We're just doing it wrong. I think that the market needs to compel the EV manufacturers to switch to fast swap batteries and hybrid. Every EV should come with a hybrid option. And then you are in the best of both worlds. You can fuel it up and it can charge the battery, and the battery drives the car, or the ICE engine drives the car. And you have failover of the hybrid component, which allows for immediate takeoff instead of having to wait for the ICE engine to spool up. That's one of the problems with 0 to 60 times, is because the engine has to spool up enough torque to move the vehicle down the road. But with an electric vehicle, the motors are instant on, and so they can push the car into motion immediately, get the car up to speed, and then the ICE engine takes over and charges the batteries for short range, 25 miles, that kind of a thing. But I would rather have a gas engine recharging an electric battery, and me operate on electric, because the transfer between the two is going to be more effective, instead of a lot of gas being spent trying to build up torque and this mechanical switch taking place. That's why you have like torque converter and transmissions and stuff like that are inefficient. It's basically an 8-to-1 ratio. It gets all messy. Anyway, my point is, yes, electric vehicles are too expensive. Yes, charging headaches are causing EV owners to go back to ICE ICE engines, or internal combustion engines, ICE vehicles. And no, EVs aren't breeding high loyalty. You're stuck. You have to drive. If you have an EV, you are stuck to charging stations. So the moment you buy a Tesla, you are bound to the Tesla ecosystem. And I'm starting to liken owning an EV to buying a boat and selling a boat. And those are the two happiest moments in a boat owner's life: buying it and selling it. Everything in between is maintenance and headache. And so that's where I think that EVs land. And I'm a proponent of EVs. I love the idea of an EV. Instant on, they're quiet, they're reliable. The problem is the battery and the fast swap tech isn't in place to meet the requirements that I have, and the reliability in inclement weather If it's too hot, the battery becomes less effective. If it's too cold, the battery becomes less effective. And there's easier mitigation for ICE vehicles, engine block warmers, even in the coldest of climes, engine block warmers, whereas a battery has to use its own internal mechanisms to warm itself to operating temperature. In the coldest climes, an electric vehicle will never operate even close to 80% of its charge in 30 minutes. It'll take hours and hours and hours. And the efficiency will be horrible anyway. So at any rate, that's it for today's time machine episode of FourWheelTech. So I'm going to do like we did the last time and smash that pedal down and blip us right back to the front page of FourWheelTech. And then right here under Science and Education is FourWheelTech. You can refresh it and it will give you more information, more articles that have been aggregated into ohmTown.com. And all we ever get are these little headlines. And this is how it works. You get the headline, or you get the title of the show, and then just the headline and a short snippet, typically less than 125 words. And then when you follow that, when you click that link, it will pull you over to the article itself where you can read on your own, and then come and talk to us here each Sunday. Typically it's at 9 p.m. Eastern, but today I'm doing a time machine episode. This is the 7th show in the ohmTown network. If you are curious about all of the shows, you can actually, in the chat, type in !pod, and it'll give you a link to the podcasts. If you don't get to make it to a live show, and every 60 days, the oldest show is dropped from the playlist at Twitch. All of the shows are still available over at ohmTown on youtube.com. So youtube.com/ohmTown. And you can also download the podcasts. There's 1,100 episodes of the shows, including like all combined. So ohmTown Daily News Show has been around for 2.5 years now. Reality Hacker. So here's the proper rundown. So on Saturday, this is the layout and how we have it now. ohmTown Daily News Show is at 5 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday. Then Reality Hacker, Wanted, and Warcrafters is on Saturday. And on Sunday is the Continuity Report, Technology Today, and this show, FourWheelTech. Monday through Friday, ohmTown Daily News Show is at 8 p.m. And it typically runs, each of these run about an hour in length. And it covers 10 articles. I am planning on launching 3 more shows, one involving music called Mix War, where people will be able to play music. I'll actually play the music, but people can compete for a leaderboard for each weekly episode, monthly top 10 list, quarterly, semi-annually, annually. And it's something that I'm working out, but even music that I've produced myself has been flagged. And so I'm trying to dot all of my I's and cross all of my T's. I don't think it'll be a problem ultimately, because anybody that takes part in the competitions needs to allow me to restream it. And so I need synchro licensing. I need authorization to hold it basically in the VOD on demand and replay them. And everybody else needs permission to take music and sample it, because that's how it works. And I'll explain it when the show launches officially. I'm hoping to get that done by next week and lock it all down, and then we'll get that show running too. So it has nothing to do with FourWheelTech, but anyway, so FourWheelTech is the show that y'all just watched. So thank you very much. We're done for today, but if you are interested, we'll be back 8 p.m. Eastern for ohmTown Daily News Show, and that show is going to be getting a name change. So stick around. Won't be today or tomorrow, since this is a time machine. Anyway, all of this makes sense once you hear the new name for ohmTown Daily News Show. See you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.